The rain was coming down hard the night Maya dragged her suitcase up the steps of the old brick apartment building. She had been searching for a place for weeks, scrolling endlessly through listings, and every option seemed to either be too expensive, too far from work, or occupied by people she couldn't imagine sharing a kitchen with. When she finally stumbled on the ad for a spare room in an apartment downtown, it felt like a miracle. What she hadn't expected, however, was the surprise waiting behind the door. The door swung open, and there she was, Lena. Her long dark hair was slightly damp, probably from the same storm Maya had just escaped, and she wore an oversized sweatshirt that looked both casual and impossibly attractive at the same time. Her smile was quick but warm, the kind that made a stranger feel like they belonged already. "You must be Maya," Lena said, stepping aside. "Come in, you're soaked." Maya rolled her suitcase over the threshold and felt an odd twist in her stomach. It was probably nerves, she told herself. Moving in with someone new was always strange. But there was something about Lena's presence that made the air feel different, charged almost. The apartment was cozy, with soft lighting and walls lined with books. The smell of freshly brewed tea drifted from the kitchen. It felt safe, comforting, and yet, as Maya noticed, there was only one bedroom. She blinked, then glanced back at Lena. "So, I thought you said this place had 2 rooms." Maya asked carefully. Lena bit her lip, looking guilty. "Okay, about that. I may have exaggerated in the ad. There's just one. But it's a huge room, and it has a queen bed. I figured if you're not cool with it, you wouldn't even come by. But since you're here, maybe we can talk about it." Maya's first instinct was to turn around and leave. Sharing a bed with a stranger? It sounded ridiculous. But then Lena tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, eyes searching Maya's face for any sign of rejection, and something softened inside her. Maybe it was the desperation of not wanting to start the search over again, or maybe it was the quiet pull she felt toward Lena already. "I guess," Maya began slowly, "if we set some ground rules, it could work." Lena's relieved smile lit up the room, and Maya couldn't help but return it. Later, when Maya unpacked her bag in the shared room, she noticed how the bed sat neatly in the center, with soft white sheets and 2 pillows side by side. It looked far too intimate for 2 strangers. She told herself it was temporary, just until she found something else. But as Lena walked in with 2 mugs of tea, her eyes warm and playful, Maya wondered if she was fooling herself. The storm outside hadn't let up by the time Maya and Lena crawled into bed that night. The sound of rain against the windows filled the silence of the room as both women shifted awkwardly, trying to find a comfortable space without touching. The bed suddenly felt smaller than it had looked earlier, the distance between them shrinking with every passing second. Maya lay stiff on her side, staring at the wall, aware of every movement Lena made behind her. She could feel the warmth radiating from Lena's body, the faint scent of lavender shampoo drifting across the pillow they practically shared. It was maddening, too close, too intimate, and yet, part of her didn't want to move away. "You're not cold, are you?" Lena's voice broke the quiet, soft and hesitant. Maya let out a nervous laugh. "No, just not used to sharing a bed with someone I've known for less than 12 hours. Lena chuckled, the sound low and easy. "Fair. But hey, I promise I don't snore. That has to count for something." Maya smiled in the dark, and something loosened in her chest. She finally turned slightly, just enough to see Lena's face illuminated by the faint streetlight slipping through the curtains. Her hair fanned across the pillow, her eyes gentle but curious, studying Maya in return. The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was the kind of silence that hummed with possibility. Maya's pulse quickened, and she looked away too quickly, pretending to adjust the blanket. "Good night," Lena whispered. "Good night," Maya replied, though her body stayed wide awake long after Lena's breathing steadied into sleep. When morning came, sunlight spilled across the room, and Maya found herself dangerously close to Lena. At some point in the night, their bodies had drifted together. Her forehead nearly brushed Lena's shoulder, their legs just inches apart under the covers. She froze, not daring to move. The quiet rhythm of Lena's breath stirred something deep inside her. something she hadn't let herself feel in a long time. But before she could think too much, Lena stirred, her eyes fluttering open. For a moment, their gazes locked, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Neither pulled away. "Morning," Lena murmured, her voice still husky with sleep. Maya swallowed, forcing her voice steady. "Morning." Lena stretched, her arm brushing lightly against Maya's. The touch was brief, but enough to send sparks racing down Maya's spine. She quickly sat up, trying to mask the sudden heat in her cheeks. "I'll make coffee," Lena said casually, slipping out of bed as though nothing unusual had happened. But the smirk tugging at the corner of her lips told another story. As Maya watched her disappear into the kitchen, she pressed a hand to her chest, trying to calm her racing heartbeat. Sharing a bed with Lena was supposed to be a temporary inconvenience. Yet somehow, it already felt like the start of something she couldn't ignore. Days turned into a rhythm that felt both ordinary and extraordinary. Maya and Lena moved around each other with surprising ease, sharing meals, trading jokes over dishes, and arguing lightheartedly about whose turn it was to take out the trash. But the nights were different. Every evening, when they climbed into the shared bed, a new layer of tension settled between them. They never spoke about it directly, but it was there in the brush of an arm, the stolen glance in the dim light, the silence that carried a weight far heavier than words. One night, after a long day of work, Maya lay on her back staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Lena shifted beside her and whispered, "You're awake too?" "Yeah," Maya admitted. "My mind just won't shut off." There was a pause, then Lena's voice, softer now, "Want to talk about it?" Maya turned her head to find Lena already watching her. Their faces were close, too close, and Maya's breath caught. She could see every detail of Lena's expression, from the tiny freckle near her lip to the way her dark eyes held both mischief and tenderness. "I don't know," Maya said with a shaky laugh. "I'm not great at talking about myself." "Then let's make it easier," Lena offered. "We'll trade secrets. You tell me one, and I'll tell you one." Maya hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, I guess. I hate thunderstorms. Always have. I used to hide in the closet as a kid whenever it rained too hard." Lena smiled gently. "That's not so bad. Makes sense why you looked so tense the night you moved in." She paused, then leaned in slightly. "My turn. I sing in the shower like I'm performing a stadium concert. And I'm terrible." Maya laughed, the sound breaking through the tension. But when it faded, their eyes locked again, the air thick with something unspoken. Another secret hovered on Maya's tongue, one she wasn't sure she was ready to say aloud. That being this close to Lena made her heart race in ways she couldn't ignore. That sharing a bed had stopped feeling like an inconvenience and started feeling like a privilege she craved. As if sensing her thoughts, Lena whispered, "Want another secret?" Maya nodded slowly. "I don't think I mind the one-bed situation as much as I pretended to," Lena admitted, her voice almost too quiet to hear. The room seemed to shrink around them. Maya's pulse hammered in her ears, and for a fleeting moment, she thought Lena might close the space between them. But instead, Lena rolled onto her back, staring at the ceiling with a small smile. "Good night, Maya," she murmured. Maya swallowed hard, turning onto her side. "Good night, Lena." But long after Lena's breathing grew steady, Maya lay awake, replaying the words in her mind, wondering just how many secrets were still waiting to be revealed. The weekend brought lazy mornings and a slower pace. Maya woke up to the sound of clattering in the kitchen and the faint smell of coffee. Padding out in her pajama shorts and loose t-shirt, she found Lena perched on the counter, sipping from a mug, her hair a wild mess of waves that looked annoyingly perfect. "Morning, sunshine," Lena teased, raising her mug. Maya groaned, running a hand through her tangled hair. "How are you this cheerful before noon?" "Natural talent," Lena said with a grin. "Coffee helps too. Want some?" Maya nodded, and Lena hopped down, moving closer than necessary as she handed over the mug. Their fingers brushed, and the casual contact sent a quick shiver down Maya's arm. She quickly took a sip to distract herself, but the smirk on Lena's face told her she hadn't hidden it well. Later that day, while folding laundry together on the bed, Lena held up one of Maya's sweaters. You wear this one a lot, she observed. It smells like you. Maya froze, unsure if that was a casual comment or something more. Yeah, it's comfortable. Lena tilted her head, eyes twinkling with mischief. Comfortable is good. But do you know what else is comfortable? Maya raised an eyebrow. Dare I ask? This, Lena said, and before Maya could react, she tossed the sweater over her head like a hood, leaving Maya laughing and flustered beneath the fabric. When she finally tugged it off, Lena was watching her with an expression that hovered somewhere between playful and tender. Their laughter faded into a silence that lingered too long. The pile of clothes lay forgotten between them as Lena leaned back on her elbows, still watching Maya with that knowing look. You know, Lena said softly, you get this little crease in your forehead when you're embarrassed. It's cute. Maya's heart stumbled. She tried to play it off with a roll of her eyes. Are you always this observant? Only when I'm interested, Lena replied without hesitation. The air thickened instantly. Maya's lips parted, but no words came out. Lena's gaze dropped briefly to her mouth before flicking back up to her eyes, and for one dangerous second, Maya thought she was going to kiss her. But instead, Lena grabbed a pillow and smacked it lightly against her arm. Your turn to fold, she said, her tone light again, though her eyes still carried that spark. Maya exhaled slowly, forcing a laugh as she reached for another shirt. But her hands trembled slightly, and she couldn't stop replaying Lena's words, only when I'm interested. That night, as they settled into bed, their shoulders brushed under the blanket. Neither moved away. It wasn't spoken, but both of them knew they were towing a line that couldn't stay invisible forever. The air in the apartment felt charged that evening, like static waiting for a spark. Maya tried to distract herself with a book on the couch, but her eyes kept drifting toward Lena, who was sprawled across the other end, scrolling lazily through her phone. Every small sound, her soft laughter at something on the screen, the brush of her hair as she tucked it behind her ear, drew Maya's attention like a magnet. Eventually Lena set her phone aside and stretched, her shirt riding up just enough to reveal a sliver of skin. Maya looked away too quickly, pretending to focus on her book. What are you reading? Lena asked, her voice casual but curious. Maya held up the cover. Just a novel. Something to keep me from overthinking. Overthinking what? Lena's tone was teasing, but her eyes lingered. Maya hesitated. Life. Work. Everything. She closed the book, feeling suddenly exposed. Sharing a bed with a near stranger, for example. Lena laughed softly, but she shifted closer, her knee brushing against Maya's. Do I still feel like a stranger to you? The question hung in the air, heavier than it should have been. Maya shook her head before she could stop herself. No, not anymore. Silence settled, thicker this time. Their eyes met and held, the unspoken tension finally pressing to the surface. Maya's pulse raced as Lena leaned in ever so slightly, her gaze flickering down to Maya's lips. For one dizzying second, the world narrowed to that single space between them. Maya could feel the heat of Lena's breath, the anticipation building like a tidal wave. Her hand twitched, almost reaching for Lena's, but fear rooted her in place. Then, as if sensing her hesitation, Lena pulled back with a small, almost mischievous smile. Careful, Maya. You look like you want to kiss me. Maya's cheeks burned. You're imagining things. Am I? Lena tilted her head, studying her with maddening calm. Maya swallowed hard, clutching her book as if it could anchor her. Even if I was, it wouldn't be a good idea. Why not? Lena asked softly. Because I don't want to ruin this. Because I'm scared of how much I want it. Because you make me feel things I'm not ready to admit. The reasons tangled in Maya's chest, but none made it to her lips. Instead, she stood abruptly, muttering something about needing water, and escaped into the kitchen. Leaning against the counter, Maya tried to steady her breathing. Her hands trembled as she filled a glass, but her mind replayed the moment over and over, the closeness, the teasing words, the almost kiss that left her both relieved and aching. Back in the living room, Lena hadn't moved. She simply watched Maya return with an expression that was unreadable yet strangely gentle, as if she knew exactly what Maya was battling inside. That night, when they climbed into bed, the space between them felt narrower than ever. Neither spoke, but the silence was louder than words could have been. The days after the almost kiss carried a strange, electric tension. Maya found herself hyper-aware of everything, how close Lena stood when they cooked dinner together, how her laugh filled the apartment with warmth, how their shoulders brushed when they sat on the couch. Every touch, every glance seemed to mean more than it should. One evening, the two of them decided on a movie night. They argued over what to watch, Lena insisting on a cheesy rom-com while Maya campaigned for a thriller. In the end, Lena won, flashing a triumphant grin that made Maya's heart stutter. "Don't roll your eyes," Lena teased as she pressed play. "You'll thank me later." Halfway through the movie, Maya realized she wasn't paying attention to the screen at all. Her focus was entirely on Lena, how her head tilted back when she laughed, how her knee rested dangerously close to Maya's on the couch, how she smelled faintly of vanilla and something uniquely her. When Lena shifted and leaned into her side, Maya's breath caught. It was casual. Lena acted like it was the most natural thing in the world, but to Maya, it felt like crossing an invisible boundary. She didn't move, though. She couldn't. "You're awfully quiet," Lena murmured, her head resting lightly against Maya's shoulder. "Just watching," Maya replied, though she wasn't talking about the movie. The quiet between them deepened. Lena turned slightly, her eyes meeting Maya's in the dim light. For a moment, the world held its breath. "You know," Lena said softly, "I keep wondering if you're holding back." Maya blinked. "Holding back from what?" Lena's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "From me." The words landed like a thunderclap in Maya's chest. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Her throat felt tight, her heart racing. "I'm not," she whispered, though even she wasn't sure if she believed it. Lena tilted her head, studying her face with an intensity that made Maya shiver. "If you're scared, you don't have to be. I'm not going to push you." Maya's chest ached at the tenderness in her tone. She wanted to say something, to bridge the gap between them, but fear tangled around her like vines. Instead, she whispered, "It's complicated." Lena gave a small nod, as if she understood more than Maya had said. Then she leaned back slightly, giving her space, though her hand brushed against Maya's on the couch and lingered there just long enough to set Maya's pulse racing again. The movie ended, forgotten by both of them. As they got ready for bed, Maya caught herself watching Lena move around the room with ease, her presence filling every corner. When they slipped under the covers, the silence was heavier than usual, but not uncomfortable, more like the calm before a storm. Maya lay awake long after Lena drifted off, staring at the ceiling. The truth pressed against her ribcage, aching to be spoken. She's not just my roommate. She's becoming so much more. It was a Tuesday evening when the air finally shifted. Maya had come home late from work, drained and irritable. She tossed her bag onto the couch and collapsed beside it with a heavy sigh. Lena, already in sweatpants and a tank top, looked up from her laptop with concern. "Long day?" she asked gently. "The longest," Maya muttered, pressing her hands over her eyes. Without a word, Lena closed her laptop and moved closer, sitting beside her. "Talk to me. What happened?" Maya hesitated, but something about Lena's steady gaze loosened her chest. "Work's just overwhelming. Deadlines, pressure, people expecting me to be perfect all the time. I feel like I'm failing, even when I'm giving everything I've got." Lena didn't say anything right away. Instead, she reached out and rested a hand on Maya's arm. The touch was grounding, warm, and when she finally spoke, her voice was low and sure. "You're not failing. You're human. And you're doing more than enough." The words hit deeper than Maya expected. Her throat tightened, and to her own surprise, her eyes stung. She laughed bitterly, trying to shake it off, but Lena leaned closer. "Hey," she whispered, her hand sliding down to squeeze Maya's. "You don't always have to be strong around me." Maya's heart skipped. The tenderness in Lena's voice, the sincerity in her touch, it was too much and not enough at the same time. She swallowed hard, blinking back the rush of emotion. "You're too good at this," Maya whispered. "At what?" Lena asked, tilting her head. "Getting under my skin." A slow smile spread across Lena's lips. "Maybe that's because you let me." The silence that followed was different this time, thick, heavy with everything they hadn't said. Maya's pulse thundered as Lena's thumb brushed gently against the back of her hand. Their faces were close, closer than they had ever been, and Maya could feel the question hanging between them. Would she pull away again? But this time, she didn't. Her breath hitched as Lena leaned in, just enough for Maya to feel the whisper of her warmth. The world narrowed to the space between their lips, and for one heart-stopping moment, Maya thought she might finally close the distance. Then Lena paused, her voice a hushed murmur. "Tell me to stop, and I will." Maya's chest tightened, her words tangled in fear and longing. She wanted to say don't stop, but the weight of it froze on her tongue. Lena's eyes searched hers for an answer. When Maya stayed silent, Lena exhaled softly and pulled back, though her hand lingered in Maya's. "Okay," she whispered, almost to herself. Maya's heart ached as the moment slipped away. But as they sat there in the quiet, their fingers still entwined, she knew something had changed. The wall between them wasn't gone, but it was cracked wide open. The tension lingered for days after their almost moment on the couch. Maya carried it with her like a weight, heavy in her chest, impossible to ignore. Every glance, every brush of Lena's hand set her nerves alight. She was tired of running from what she already knew, that her feelings for Lena had gone far beyond friendship, beyond roommate convenience. One Friday night, Lena suggested they order takeout and watch another movie. The evening was casual, filled with laughter and easy conversation, but beneath it ran an undercurrent neither of them could ignore. When the credits rolled, silence settled, thick and expectant. Maya turned to find Lena already watching her, her expression open, searching. "You've been quiet tonight," Lena said softly. Maya swallowed hard. "I've been thinking." "About what?" "About us." The words hung in the air, heavier than thunder. Lena's lips parted slightly, her eyes never leaving Maya's. "And what about us?" Maya's heart raced, but she forced herself to continue. "I came here expecting nothing more than a roof over my head. But then, there was you. And now I can't pretend it's just about being roommates anymore." Lena's hand found hers, their fingers sliding together naturally, as if they'd been made to fit. Her voice was steady, but her eyes shimmered with vulnerability. "I was hoping you'd say that. I've been waiting for you to catch up." Maya let out a shaky laugh, relief and disbelief rushing through her all at once. "So you knew." "I had a feeling," Lena admitted, smiling. "But I didn't want to push you before you were ready." The silence between them shifted, no longer filled with tension, but with something softer, something undeniable. Maya's chest ached with the truth she had buried for too long. She leaned in slowly, giving Lena the chance to pull away. Instead, Lena closed the distance, her lips brushing against Maya's in a kiss that was gentle at first, then deepened with a passion that had been simmering for weeks. The world seemed to fall away. All the fear, all the hesitation melted into that single moment, two hearts finally finding the courage to meet in the middle. When they pulled back, their foreheads rested together, both of them breathless and smiling. "I guess one bed isn't so inconvenient after all," Lena whispered, teasing, though her voice shook with emotion. Maya laughed, her thumb tracing circles over Lena's hand. "No, it's perfect." That night, when they slipped under the covers, it was different. No longer two people pretending to be just roommates, no longer bound by secrets or unspoken tension. They lay tangled together, hearts steadying against each other, the weight of silence finally lifted. Maya closed her eyes, a smile tugging at her lips as Lena's arm wrapped securely around her. For the first time since she'd moved in, she felt not just at home, but exactly where she was meant to be.